Good afternoon. My name is Dean Smith. I'm a police officer for the City of Suffolk. I've been a police officer for Suffolk for 25 years. I've been in the law enforcement profession for 27 years. I currently hold the rank of Major or Deputy Chief of Police. I've also served as Acting Chief of Police for a period of time in the City of Suffolk. We're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to be a police officer in the 21st century. I'll speak to you a little bit about the state laws and local laws that you have to learn. I'll also speak a little bit about integrity, which is one of the most important aspects of being a police officer. We're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to talk to people. You're going to need to learn how to talk to professional people. You're going to need to learn how to talk to business people. You'll need to be able to talk to victims, which are probably the most important people that you have to speak to as a police officer. A police officer also must stand on their integrity. Through everything that you do, at the end of the day, you need to be able to say, I did a job well done and I did it well with integrity. We'll talk a little bit about the requirements of the job and what it takes to be a police officer, the recruiting efforts that are needed in the law enforcement profession. There are many opportunities for careers in law enforcement. According to the United States Department of Justice, there are over 18,000 law enforcement agencies in the country. There's over 730,000 police officers in the country. It may seem like a lot of police officers, however, in this country, that's not a lot at all. There's a difficulty in recruiting qualified candidates. The Department of Justice reports that in recent years, several factors have created unusually high vacancy rates in police agencies. Reservists are being called up to active duty, which creates vacancies within departments. Veteran police officers are leaving civilian jobs and are becoming part of private contractors and going off and serving in Afghanistan and Iraq. Baby boomers are also retiring, which is creating a problem in the law enforcement ranks. Recruiting is not keeping up in law enforcement. The Department of Justice reported that the Houston Police Department, who in 2006 had an authorized strength of 5,389 sworn officers, had only 51 unfilled positions in 2004. In 2006, they had 605 unfilled positions. According to Commissioner Raymond Kelly, the Commissioner of the New York City Police Department, in 2009, they missed the recruiting goal by 2,000 police officers. Now, qualifications for being a police officer are far greater than they are in many careers. Published on the Suffolk Police Department website are the minimum requirements. You must be at least 20 years and 6 months of age in order to be a police officer. You must have a minimum of a high school diploma or equivalent. You must also be a United States citizen. You also must not have met any of the automatic disqualifiers. Some of those disqualifiers are things like a conviction for domestic assault, a felony conviction, a Class 1 or 2 misdemeanor conviction within the last 5 years, any involvement in the sale or distribution of illegal drugs, any illegal possession of a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 drug. If you have a poor driving record, you're not going to be a police officer. If you have any negative points on your record, it's an automatic disqualifier. One of the most important parts about being a police officer is your integrity. If you have a conviction for any crime involving moral turpitude, such as lying, cheating, or stealing, you can't be a police officer. If you lie on your police promotional testing, if you lie on your police application testing, you can't be a police officer. Dishonorable discharge from the military will keep you from being a police officer. The prospective officer must also pass a rigorous physical exam, a psychological exam, as well as a polygraph exam. Now, recruiting a racially diverse community of officers is hard to accomplish. The RAND Corporation in 2012 reported that in order for a law enforcement agency to truly connect with its community, the agency must be representative of the community it serves, both by gender as well as by race. There are barriers to achieving this diverse workforce. There are recruitment barriers, lack of outreach to a targeted community. There's also lack of interest in the profession from the targeted community. There are also hiring barriers. According to the RAND Corporation, most law enforcement agencies require a high school diploma or equivalency. However, the national high school graduation rate for blacks and Hispanics is 20% lower than whites. Fitness and medical requirements can be a barrier to blacks and Hispanics as well, because they generally are more obese than whites are. There are also promotional barriers. The RAND Corporation reported that police departments historically have had a majority of white male officers in the upper ranks are promoted from this large pool. Once again, the lack of education becomes a barrier due to additional requirements of college degrees. Retention issues in minority groups become an issue as well. The lack of promotions gives an impression of no upward mobility to the minority groups. Minorities can feel marginalized due to the lack of representation within the ranks. Now, according to Carol Moore in the article of Law Enforcement Technology in 2009, benefits for officers are changing so much that it's chasing away qualified officers from the law enforcement profession. Now, let's talk a little bit about training and what it means to become a police officer. Training in law enforcement is truly a career-long process. As a matter of fact, training begins a lot of times even before you get hired as a police officer. In an article in the Tribune Business News, author Lori McClatchy wrote in 2013 that the Police Explorer program provides educational training programs for young adults in the purposes, mission, and objectives of law enforcement. While there is some classroom training, things like ride-alongs, pistol shooting, and community policing give a real-world view of what it's like to be a police officer. Explorers learn leadership skills and responsibility. They also learn communication skills. Now we'll talk a little bit about the training academy itself. Police academies generally run 12 to 21 weeks in length. That's just the basic academy. That's just where you're going to learn how to do the basics of law enforcement. After that, you're going to attend a post-academy session, which will give you local ordinances, which will give you the paperwork and procedures for the agency that hired you. And that's generally going to run about 6 weeks. After that, you're going to go on for an additional 6 weeks of a field training officer. So when you're riding along out in the street and you see two policemen riding together, typically in this area, that's going to be a training officer training another police officer, teaching them how to be an officer, teaching them what it means to actually do the work out here, teaching them what it's like to be at 3 o'clock in the morning and sitting there by yourself having to deal with the problems of the world. Now, we will discuss a little bit about the rewards of being a police officer. Certainly pay is a great reward, but if you want to become a police officer for the pay, you're in the wrong business. Benefits for police officers generally work very well. In city governments, we have a very good retirement system. As a police officer in the state of Virginia, I can retire at 50 years of age and 25 years of service. In addition to my regular retirement, I also will receive a law enforcement stipend of $1,035 a month until I reach Social Security as a supplement to my retirement. We also generally get generous leave as well. As you spend more and more time in city government, you get more and more leave time available to you. Probably the most important reward, though, is the opportunity to help others. I can tell you a story about a time where I received a 911 call where a woman was being sexually assaulted. Her 7-year-old son called 911. I was able to get to the residence at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was able to confront the suspect and take him into custody after a long fight. I was able to stop the sexual assault from occurring, and I was able to help a woman. I can also tell you about the time where I went to Gulfport, Mississippi, and I spent a week there helping the Gulfport Police Department after Hurricane Katrina, helping them and their families get themselves back together while they were helping the citizens within their community. The Associated Press reported in 2008 that a tornado devastated portions of the city of Suffolk. I was fortunate to be the incident commander for that, for the law enforcement actions, and I spent nearly a month dealing with watching the citizens go from complete devastation and despair to actually seeing the beginnings of their life starting over. Now, each one of these stars on my uniform and each one of these ribbons represent me having the opportunity to help others. And I tell you this because this means nothing unless I can help the citizens that we serve. Becoming a police officer even now in the 21st century is still a rewarding career choice. It brings you job satisfaction throughout your career. Many opportunities are out there for you to become a police officer. Your background will make or break you. Opportunities are there for minorities and women as well. The training will be hard and it will be long. You still get to help others. So at the end of your career, you may look back and have someone say to you, once again, job well done. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and I hope that I've shed some light on what it takes to be a police officer in the 21st century.